Ndomana against ekene mono. Avambo mazi obuneme Osuchukwu Anyafulugo. Ano mụ na studio tata mụ na nwanne nwoke bụ
Maazị Chidoziem Chukwudera Amajiakụ ụwa niile ama ama.
Yeah, mazi. So we don't have intentions or plans of wasting anybody's time. This is Off the Hook with Anyafulugo, and I have a very quick question. Who do you think has been the greatest Igbo man of the past decade?
Well, in my honest opinion, and I think very objectively, if you look at it, I think it is Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Because when you look at the Igbo people and if you know you are try in the ideal direction of self-determination, and self-determination is not just what we as Igbo people need, is what the whole of Africa needs in order for us to emancipate ourselves and progress. So Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has been on the scene, and he has been trying to point out so many of the problems that we suffered as a people, from the traumatic genocide which is now recorded as the Nigeria Biafran War, to the fact that we need to renegotiate the union called Nigeria.
100%. 100%. So again, as you always say we need new philosophers. We need new philosophers, and it is not by any chance a flippant statement. There's a reason for that. Can you tell me or tell us, as an Igbo man, why having a new crop of ideology is important going forward?
It's simple. It has its root in that there's that saying by Albert Einstein that doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results is stupidity.
100.
And in anya na-emego ofunye ka anyị na-eme since 1914. When they channel since 1960, but don't be do kwa. In fact, don't be do since 1885, when the white men gathered in one place in their backyard in Europe and shared Africa, And since then, they've given us their colonial mentality, and we've been trying to follow through with the path of colonialism and pretending that we are trying to find ourselves while still holding colonial institutions, And it's obvious, it becomes more and more obvious that Africa needs to find its own path, which is the reason why many African people have been hesitant to criticize the coups that have been happening recently, right? And the only way for us to truly begin to get new solutions to our problems is to begin to think about them in a new light and to begin to approach them in a different way. You understand? And when I say we need new philosophers, what I have just explained now is like on a broader spectrum, but it also applies to our everyday life. We don't necessarily need people of philosophy in the mode of Plato or Socrates. We need philosophers in our local context that can solve our local problems. Ihe ọbụla anyị na-eme, anyị na-enwe nsogbu, anyị kwesịrị ịchọ ụzọ ọfụ anyị ga-eji na-eme a ka anyị meta ya ọfụma. Like, for example, when you think about our politics, we just cannot keep continuing in that mood of waiting for politicians every 4 years to come and tell us their lies and their usual lingos, and then go and vote with a PVC that which we are not sure will make any improvement.
The most useless objects.
Yes, we need to think about these things in a new light, and that is basically what we need new philosophers means at the basic level. Of course, it's a very broad topic, but
economic Biafra. The CEO of Voice of the East, he has argued that the best way to pursue self-determination is economically. So, but it was met with resistance, of course, on social media.
Yes.
So, explain economic Biafra to a 4-year-old.
Yeah, if I had a 4-year-old and I wanted to explain economic Biafra, first of all, I wouldn't just explain economic Biafra to a 4-year-old. There has to be, an occasion for that. Let me say I have a 4-year-old, and my 4-year-old child is my first child, and then I have another 2-year-old child who is his younger one. And then that my 4-year-old child always takes the money I give to him and goes to give my neighbor's child, for example. And after giving him my neighbor's child that money, at the end of the day, they beat him and he comes back home crying. Economic Biafra in this situation will not be, assuming my son's name is Chinedu. Chinedu, don't stop taking this money and giving to outsiders and they beat you. Take this money and buy something for your younger sister Adora and see how she will love you. And anytime she buys something for Adora, hypothetically he finds that she's very happy and they are happy together as siblings. That is economic Biafra to a 4-year-old. Economic Biafra simply means bring your investment back home. That is what economic. It doesn't mean that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's political Biafra is null and void. No. In fact, economic Biafra is the lifeblood of political Biafra. Because sometimes I feel like there's something wrong with us as a people.
There is actually.
I would like to hear more from you from that perspective. How do we think? Do we think that it is just by agitating for Biafra, and then if Biafra comes, it takes us by surprise? If Biafra comes today, do you think we have everything in place to be able to pivot ourselves?
No. We are not even ready. Like we said outside in the studio.
Yeah.
I said that economic Biafra is a precursor to political Biafra.
Yeah.
And by Biafra we mean self-determination, Igbo independence, Igbo economy, and independent Igbo economy that has its core in the southeast.
Yes.
That is what I understand by the economic Biafra.
Yeah.
But I also think that we in the Igbo, we have a problem. Ndi Igbo sina enyi ada afi hedia na ngada. But in some cases, enyi kwesikwa na ima na onwe hedia na ngada. Obugodu na ofuro, enyi kwesi iji uche malo na onwe he. You need refo all the time. Our people, we want to see everything first. Before I
and sometimes I gonna fokwa.
Delusion go still hold them, they press their neck. This thing is obvious. You carry your money and go to the west, or carry your money and go to, but the northerner cannot come to your village and develop your other to be able. Only came here, only your child, you go carry yourself, Ijebu only ozo. Inete koluta, itecha koluta, elono, elokwa, mana ben nage. So what did there? And a sino amaluma.
Where poor news.
You cannot maluma from Ezi and come back to Bego. They are the
I also have a question for you. You know, when we talk about tribalism, I feel I've always felt like there's a context in which we see tribalism in Africa, and in the context of the West, it is called
racism.
Not necessarily racism. There's this word for it, nationalism.
Okay, nationalism.
It is called nationalism in the West. How do you? I want to. So now my question is, what do you think? How do you think we should drive this? We should drive this message to our people that advocating for your own people is not tribalism in the context in which it is painted, but it can also be seen as nationalism, which is in the West. You know, most of the greatest Western philosophers were nationalists. So, how do you think?
I always say that self-preservation is the first rule of nature, and I argue that there's nothing wrong in choosing yourself over and over again. There's nothing wrong in choosing yourself. There's nothing wrong in choosing your people over and over again. When people say tribalism, it comes with an accompanying negative connotation.
Because of how it has been painted.
The definition that Britain gave us about tribalism. But when I say that I want to do business here, I want to do business with this person, I see Nebo a tribalist, Nebo a bigot, and the most embarrassing one, your own brothers, by God. Because you know we have Igbo. Because now at any table of negotiation, your own is always dink again. Your people will still come and tell you, you they do too much. Which begs the question, the Nigerian Union kedo the issue, because nationalism, you have to share a heritage. Nigeria is not a nation.
Yes.
We don't have any shared heritage.
No shared history of migration,
geography.
geography.
Afiamu, onwe gbasa normally. Normally, muni ade mo fie. Mana bata Nigeria se na gine mo fie. No fu flag be here. Yotago. No fu team na uni na abalo fu club. Fu jesi kunu ge. Mana, in essence, you cannot say honorable the reason why we don't have passionate people. Like, indeed, very, very, very passionate about, because it is not my game. It is not, at the grand scheme of things, this is not me.
Mm-hmm.
This is not who I am.
Yes.
At my core, at my nucleus, this is what I am.
Yeah.
Obono, assuming that Nigeria now, Ndi Yoruba, when their religion, and when their anthem, and when their flag.
Yes.
Ndi Hausa, and when their flag, Ndi Igbo, and when their own name, you want to go. Now, that is when you can say that you are a proud so and so, because this identity correlates with your DNA.
And when I go into the Hausa region, I'm more than happy to stand attention when they are reciting their anthem.
Because why not?
And when they come to my own, I expect them to pay the same. I feel like that is the mutual respect we should aspire to.
Simple. There's nothing wrong in choosing yourself. Chinua Achebe said, the best way to look at the world is from the vantage point of ethnocentrism. Look at it from your own understanding, yes. your own philosophy, your own ideals.
Yes. Then you can compare with.
Yes. Then you can draw parallel lines. But first,
yeah, I experienced that thing in a very profound way when I think 7 years ago when we went for Ake Festival together. You know, there was this Ngugi wa Thiong'o's short story that had been translated into 55 languages, and it was being read. It was read in English, and then later it was read in Igbo. But the meaning, the profoundness of the meaning, or the impression it made on me when it was read in Igbo, made me understand that sometimes storytelling can just acquire a new depth of meaning when it is read in the language which your soul dance to.
The language of your DNA. Language of your DNA.
Yeah.
Let us not digress. Generally, right? What do you think are the upside of the Monday sit at home? Because I know definitely there are ups.
Yeah.
There's an upside to it.
I think it is one thing which we've not talked about enough, and that is because we lack self-consciousness as a people.
100%, I agree.
You know, I remember, okay, not necessarily because I remember, but I think when we look at this sit at home, we've not looked at it totally from a honest lens. Why did this sit at home become so successful? A lot of people will tell you it is because people are afraid. It is because people don't want to get harmed, you know. But that is just one perspective of the whole thing. You know, when you live in the Southeast here and when you go to the bars on Mondays, when you walk around, you cannot but admit to yourself that our people are enjoying. There's something our people enjoy about sitting at home every Monday.
I always say that the first time since 1970, after the war, the first time the Igbo man sat down to rest, to think, was when the Monday sit at home started. Because apart from that Monday sit at home, the average Igbo man, this is his routine. Monday beer, amateur morning division, or jeba afia, unye jebe anywhere on eje, umaze jebe school. Till evening, same until Friday, Saturday they go still go market. Only will get afia or that.
Okay, Saturday.
Okay, just Saturday. Or just sometimes or just Sunday. Then Monday, it be okay again. But when we sit at home, that was when you started seeing fathers spend actual time with their children. Spend actual time with their children.
And still have an extra evening to hang out with friends
at the end of the day.
And you said that thing. I remember you said that thing somewhere before. And it's not just, we talk about the family, the values, the family value, how it helps improve family value. But it's not just family value, but friendship. sometimes when we become, men, our friendship when we were much younger in our early 20s, I remember we had more time to catch up. We could just wake up one morning and say, let's meet somewhere. But now that we are kind of men and everybody's turned at his own side of trying to survive, it becomes more difficult. And now there comes an opportunity where, wow, we can actually sit down every Monday, or maybe now Sunday and Monday, we can sit down and discuss, and then we begin to see new sides to our friendship. It's like we begin to discover ourselves. I think that is beneficial too. And again, I think that we really, really, really need to decolonize our mentality. Namwebo, what we had was 4 market days. There is a reason why our ancestors made it 4 market days. And after 4 market days, it is assumed that in each of that 4 market days, at least the woman or the family has 1 day that they take for their rest. So in the Western calendar of 7 days in a week, in the Igbo calendar, there's almost 2 days of rest. If you add 1 day, which is to make it 8 days, it means that you have 2 days of rest. But we always want to look at things from the Western perception.
From the Gregorian calendar.
And that is why, and another thing, I think people have also discovered that you can go to your shop for 4 days and still be able to make ends meet for your family. And yes, you won't die. And when people notice that, okay, you don't come out for 2 or 3 days, they will come to your shop on that 4 days in which you open.
You just go bank on a Tuesday morning in the southeast. If you hold a man, transactions of Monday
they will make up for themselves. And I also think that at some point people noticed that it was too crowded on Tuesday, so they looked for ways to. Some people looked for ways to shift themselves towards Wednesdays. You understand? So such that now, if you go to the bank on Tuesdays, it's not even so stressful as it used to be. Now some people have put themselves back to Wednesday, and everything has adjusted. And I think that in the course of self-determination, we really we must not do things in the 5 work days week or 6 work day week of the West, of that model established by, was it Henry Ford or Michael Ford? No, we have to look for what works for us. We talk about China, the West paints China as a communist state. But I have a friend that went to China and he told me that, what they practice in China is not necessarily communism. It's a capitalism that looks like communism, but it is what they found, what they structured for their society, because it is what works for them. What works in the West will not work for everybody. So I think that the sit at home, while some people feel that it has stopped, and I don't think we have a real economy yet. So I can't say it has affected any economy.
When we don't get support,
there are some underlying truths, some bitter truths that some people have to accept, and which is the reason why sit at home, aside being a protest measure for the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, has become very successful, because of course the Igbo people love Mazi Nnamdi Kanu.
100%.
Yes, but there are also other reasons why it has become very successful, which does not even necessarily have to do with Mazi Nnamdi Kanu.
Thank you for sticking with us through this episode. We appreciate. Dalurin, thank you so much, my bro.
Yeah,
and this is Voice of the East, Olundi Igbo. I have Putago, but I have Putago.